in your second location, we had like way too much fun. Like
yes, we did.
We had, yeah. And so what were some of your favorite things that we did there? Like my sister Vivi and I, for everyone listening, we were in high school and we were Katie's models. She had like handpicked some like girls from prep to come and just wear the clothes. And we could not have been more thrilled.
Yeah. We had that was truly the Camelot season at Nada and Company. It was wonderful. 5,000 square feet, almost 20-foot ceilings. It was incredible. And those windows, it breaks my heart every day. I miss them. Mm-hmm. But it was just truly a golden age in so many ways. I mean, we had just come off Sex and the City. People were really dressing.
Yes.
We love our kings around here, Michael Patrick and all the rest of them.
Yes.
And he'll never know what, but I don't think you can really understand the impact it had on business and on businesses like ours when people were really dressing and really thinking about their accessories and how they were putting themselves together. And, we were really carried through for many years on that inspiration. And it was a wonderful time, and I'm very grateful to have had that experience and to have had all of you. Of course, you and your sisters. I always see Mary McGregor. Is that for me? The little blue I think we put straps on it.
Yes, I was thinking about this pre-interview. Okay, yes. You have to tell it. Tell it.
Oh my.
Welcome to Meeting Maggie, where we value each person's authenticity, whether it be over Starbucks or stargazing, and from fandom to fanfare. Season 2 of Meeting Maggie is all about the secret sauce of life. And as we discuss, they meet me, Maggie McGregor.
Hey everybody, it's Maggie McGregor here on Meeting the Meeting Maggie podcast with none other than Katie Gilmartin, clothier, and just she dresses everyone you know. And we're going to talk a lot about her background because she's had a vast amount of careers and jobs within this short life of hers, and I can't wait to get started. Katie, let's start at the beginning.
Okay, very good.
We're going to start.
First of all, thank you for referring to my life as short. I've come to an age where I really appreciate that, so thanks.
I still so clearly remember I was working at the store, and it was your 30th birthday. And
yes.
do you remember?
Mere moments ago.
Yeah. But it was such a big deal, like you turning 30. You know what I mean? And you had accomplished so much. And we were downtown. Do you remember what I gifted you? My mom and I gifted you.
Was that the pearl bracelet?
Yeah, the chocolate pearl bracelet. Yeah.
Yep. I know that was from you. I wouldn't have said 30th birthday, but
no,
yes.
It was your 30th. Yep. Yeah.
You know what? It's funny. I put that on the other day, and I love it.
Yeah.
Because it's from both of you, but especially because it's from Martha.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So for anyone who doesn't know, my aunt owned a jewelry store in Clark Summit, the Jewelry Room, and it was so special to all of us. And she's no longer with us, but her jewelry remains. And,
yes, and her style and her influence.
Absolutely.
She's all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I guess we'll start with, before you were even here, your parents' love story. I just love it.
Well, they met teaching at Abington Heights in the back hallway of the middle school where all the special subjects took place. My father was the art teacher at the middle school from the day it opened, and my mother came short.
He was my father's art teacher.
Yep, that's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
A good claim to fame. And my mother was in the home economics department, and they met and dated briefly, married pretty soon thereafter, and then I came along just about, I think, 9 months and 2 days after that.
Oh my God, get out.
Yeah, so it was a whirlwind, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But they're like one of the most fantastic couples I know. They're like
They are.
truly fabulous, and that's just a great story.
Well, one of many things we have in common, Maggie, is we have great parents. We're very lucky.
Yes, we are very
lucky.
lucky.
Yeah.
We are very lucky. So home economics, is that where you learned to sew? From your mother?
Well, no.
Okay.
I feel like I certainly picked up a lot watching her. Mm-hmm. We lived on Grove Street, right up from, well, I think what is now the administration building at Abington Heights, but was the Grove Street School. And she had a small sewing room in the basement. And I can remember being down there with her. I would do a lot of hand sewing. For some reason, I don't really know why. We had a lot of quilting squares. I think she was a quilter maybe in her college years. I don't ever remember it. But I would hand sew sequins onto quilting squares just for fun. But I really learned how to sew on a machine at the Abington Heights Middle School. She was long out of teaching by the time I got there. But the special subjects program at Abington Heights was phenomenal. And, I think it was really, at the time I went through, I think there was a lot of innovation in those areas as well. My mother talks about remembering when boys just started to take home ec. And by the time I was there, in the 7th and 8th, I went to the middle school in the 4th grade at Abington Heights because there were construction projects, and I managed to live to tell the tale. So that was exciting. It was a very positive experience. But I think being in that classroom setting is where I really learned how to sew on a machine. But I always say that I sew the way my father cooks. It just makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. He can tell me a million times how long to roast vegetables. I'm going to keep calling him. Mm-hmm. He doesn't even have to think about it. Yeah. And that's kind of it just seems to be an innate skill that I have. And so certainly I think my mother's skills transferred to me. I can't really say, other than learning how to sew on a machine, I really remember ever not knowing how to sew.
Okay. So that all makes perfect sense. It's amazing how great it's a belief in public schools how great the special departments were, and how much that is missed, teaching women and men to sew. Sewing
it's so challenging because those are opportunities that. It is so wonderful when children can get those opportunities in school, but there are a lot of requirements of public schools now, and so sometimes those things can't be the priority. Sometimes it's financial reasons, sometimes it's mandates that there just aren't enough hours in the day. But anytime that's something that can have a good fit in curriculum, in no matter what way it happens, it's so valuable.
Mm-hmm. I agree. For those of you who don't know, Katie's father is a fantastic cook, and he just, like she described, he just kind of throws things together, right?
Yeah.
That's a good way. That's a good way to describe it, I think. But I
think my father, really has an ability to understand what flavors will complement each other. He's a wonderful seasoner. Something I am terrible at. I'm basically salt and pepper, maybe garlic powder. And he seems to know what things are going to layer well, and he enjoys it.
So you sewing sequins onto fabric, is that that young? Is that when you knew what you wanted to do with your life? I mean, I say with your life, but that's so broad. You knew you wanted to be educated in costume.
I mean, I think at the point I was sewing on the sequins, I was going to be a ballerina by day and a cheerleader by night. I think that was the career path at that point. I think one thing led to another. When I was at prep, Ann Moyles asked me to do the costumes for the plays. And I think it was because she was aware of what my parents were doing at ballet theater at the time. Mm-hmm. And I think she thought if I screwed it up, they would step in, and they never got the chance. Because I think, I don't know, the 2 days after that, they came home and there was a fully realized costume on a mannequin in our living room, and the rest is history. I mean, it really... It was something I so enjoyed doing. I think, much to Mrs. Moyles' chagrin, perhaps. I really took it very seriously and as a very serious responsibility, and took the design piece of it as my own. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure that she always loved that I was that driven. I think she wanted me to do as I was told, and that didn't always work out for her. But it was a wonderful experience, and from there I was involved in a lot of community theater. Followed Erin Malloy to Carbondale, Pennsylvania, which happens to be the birthplace of Katie Gilmartin, and met my lifelong dearest friends there, and through them many other wonderful people came into my life, and we all took that experience very seriously, treated it like a full-time job. We had some wonderful mentors in the mix there, and just really had a lot of fun. And I always remember one of the gentlemen involved there, Michael Wallet, teasing me. I wondered why Robbie, the director, hired a 14-year-old girl to do the costumes. And then you open your mouth and I realized it was because you're 40. I was 16. But
that was my next question. So this was while you were in high school?
Yeah.
Or before? Yeah. Were you in 8th grade?
No, my foray into costumes really started, I would say, the end of sophomore year at prep.
Okay.
I think it was that summer in between sophomore and junior year that I went to Carbondale, and then it just really took off from there. And I was involved in the costumes at prep, and I was doing things at the Corner Bistro Dinner Theater. Then there was, I wish my mother was sitting next to me, because she is, my father cooks, I sew, my mother remembers dates. She can tell you exactly what summer it was. But it's, there was a show at the Waverly Community House celebrating, I want to say, the 100th anniversary, but don't quote me.
Sounds right, yeah.
Of the Waverly Community House. And there was a show called This House Builded. And that sort of joined my Carbondale people and my Clark Summit Abington people. And we had a wonderful group of friends, and just continued to work in that, continued to work in that realm, and really have way too much fun together. So that's probably when I started to think of this as something I would pursue as a career. And I applied to Fordham. I don't think I ever applied to FIT. I did not enjoy my experience touring there. I did apply to NYU, but I never finished the application, because when I went on the tour there, the first place they took me was the gymnasium. And then the second place was the dorms. So I trotted myself right to the Upper West Side, to the 2-bedroom apartments overlooking the Hudson River, and never looked back. But Fordham was a wonderful experience. And, certainly coming from one Jesuit institution, moving into another, it was a really seamless transition. And I had a wonderful, wonderful experience working and learning at Fordham.
That's amazing. Yeah. I remember your mother telling me, who is the historian, yes. She said, we kind of encouraged Katie to broaden her horizons, but you were so sure about costume design, and you were so sure about Fordham. Can you name some of your mentors at Fordham?
At Fordham, first and foremost, Michael Massey. He was I forget exactly what his title was. He did scenic design and costume design. And when I started at Fordham, the production track was really a fledgling program.
Okay.
So I was the only costume designer until my senior year.
Get
When
out.
I was a senior, a freshman came in, Julia White, and we butted heads occasionally, but ultimately became very, very good friends and worked very closely together. And she did wind up, I believe, I don't know if she stayed there, but I think she did wind up at least with some courses. She may have transferred, I don't remember, but she did work at FIT and really honed her skills there, and it was wonderful to have her in the mix at that point. It was a kind of a load off. But when I was at Fordham, I mean, Michael really let me run with things. You know, as the only designer, I got to do everything. I got to do every black box production. I got to do I was involved in all the main stage shows, and then my junior and senior year actually designed them. And I'm trying to make sure I'm getting all of I'm being accurate in all of my memories. As the time, it has been a long time. But the other thing that was wonderful at Fordham is so many of the people who were teaching were also working in the profession.
Okay.
And so, there were a lot of opportunities. I did some off Broadway work in wardrobe and, had a lot of opportunities to do work outside of Fordham. But in I want to say maybe in my junior year, maybe senior, but I started to do overhire work at Juilliard.
Oh, amazing.
Of course, I should also clarify, I was at Fordham at Lincoln Center. Not at Rose Hill. I hear the Bronx is beautiful. I never even got there. I was a Lincoln Center girl, but that was a wonderful program because it had all of the resources of a giant university and the intimacy of a small liberal arts college. It was really perfect. But I started at Juilliard doing overhire work. When their productions would come up, they would hire in people to do alterations or to do, maybe some small shopping excursions, that kind of stuff. And then when I graduated from Fordham, I came home for the summer. Again, Erin Malloy enters the picture. She was out on tour with, I think she was in St. Louis with a chorus line. And I subletted her apartment, lived with her wonderful roommate, Beth Eunice, my dear, dear friend, and wound up, in New York, you never know, do you get the apartment first? Do you get the job first?
Right.
And it kind of happened simultaneously. Another great couple, Patrick and Leslie Moran, were at a meeting with my parents where I found out that Erin was needing to sublet her apartment, and it all fell into place. And I had the job at Juilliard. I subletted from Erin, it was all on the Upper West Side, and Juilliard was a wonderful experience. I really learned so much, and I started there as a stitcher. The costume shop operated in 3-person teams. Outside designers would come in and design, and then the in-house people would produce the costumes. There was a lot of pulling from stock and things like that as well. They have an extensive collection, but things that were built were made by this 3-person team: a stitcher, a first hand, and a draper.
Okay.
And I started as a stitcher rather. And then a woman named Erica Schmidt, who's a brilliant director, married to Peter Dinklage, left to start that career. And I don't remember what project it was, but I moved into her position and stayed at Juilliard. We had to get summer jobs. And so I was at Juilliard for the school year. And then through connections there and a couple different places, wound up the wardrobe supervisor at Bat Boy the Musical.
Okay.
And wound up staying there, and I didn't go back to Juilliard.
Okay. So Juilliard was an occupation after you graduated from Fordham, or was that overlapping?
Yes.
Okay.
It overlapped. So I was there while I was at Fordham, and then I worked there full time my first year out of school.
Amazing. And so impressive. I'm going to skip to a most interesting job of yours, your time on the set of Law and Order.
Yeah.
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 Tell us about that.
I mean, I would love to say it was really fancy and really exciting. I made returns. That was basically my job. There was a wonderful designer, Tom Keller, there at the time, who was a lovely gentleman. 2 other women in the department with him, and I worked really off-site. I was in an office at a place called Odd's Costume Rental. I think it was on 27th Street.
Okay.
It was me, Marty Pakladinas, who was, I believe he's sadly deceased now, but was designing Thoroughly Modern Millie at the time, and I think won a Tony for it, or was nominated at least. I should have done some more research before I got on this call. But he had an office there. It was me. I feel like there was something else that was, a little more people in and out. But I was just in there. There was some storage for the Law and Order SVU wardrobe. And I did a lot with the day players. So when there were guest stars and, sort of background people, but, more than extras, people with lines, people interacting, I would have to get their measurements. And I had some great conversations with some really lovely people who were very professional and, very, very polished, very gracious. I didn't really I did meet the cast members, but I didn't work closely with them. I, did have the pleasure of meeting briefly Mariska Hargitay, and I just watched her documentary about, well, I guess that's what you'd call it, about her mother. And
the documentary.
I was
great.
really, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Really beautiful. And I in that brief encounter with her 20 plus years ago, I just got the sense that she was a very strong and lovely person, and everything that came through in that documentary, I think, backs that up.
She was on Call Her Daddy, that podcast.
Oh,
so
okay.
you're gonna have to get on
yes.
YouTube and watch that.
Yes, I will.
Super interesting. But yeah, what an exciting time in your life. Like, doesn't seem exciting taking measurements, but just to be like a fly on the wall where you
Absolutely.
were, like,
Absolutely.
that's just amazing.
Yeah.
And Law and Order, like, for everyone watching, was at its height. Like, Mariska was a young actress.
Yes.
And she had this starring role.
Yeah.
And it's not like now she's still a starring actress, but and Law and Order has had this longevity, but it was the hit show. Like, I remember it came on after Desperate Housewives.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even you were probably on it before then, but my parents were like, get out of the room. Because it was racy for the time.
Well, it was hard for my mother, too, because, of course, all of the sets looked like my apartment building.
Oh, my God.
And I was like 26, 27 years old, living in Manhattan by myself in a pre-war building. Yeah, so it was...
Oh, my gosh.
There was definitely an association there, but it was a wonderful experience. And, just to I think there are a lot of things that I learned in all of this work and in dealing with all of these people who were always so professional that I really take for granted. I was having a conversation with a friend the other night, and it's probably not a good reference considering the situation at Saks, but I said, well, I don't have access to studio services at Saks. And he said, well, is that a thing? Yeah. I forget that people don't even know that. So
right.
I'm really grateful for all of the, know more than everything you did. Like, really kind of that behind the scenes glimpse of all of this is fascinating. And it isn't necessarily what people would think of as the glamorous side of it.
Exactly.
But I do think it, in a lot of ways, is the more interesting side.
Yes. It's like there's this whole underworld to everything that people see, and you get this exposure to it, and it's impossible to soak it all up at once. So just like you, I'm happy that I had a long time to just kind of just soak it up. And no, it truly is amazing, like you said. Yeah, so you have true wizardry as a clothier. Is there anything you can't do? Like, I've seen you drape a tent.
Yeah, that's true. You have.
Like, you can make jewelry. You can make a bridal headpiece.
Yeah, I'm not an upholsterer,
Okay.
and I wish I was.
Okay.
Although apparently that's something my grandfather did, so maybe it's in there somewhere.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's a course I would love to take. I would really,
Yeah.
I've sort of, as maybe we're getting to Surprise by Design as well, but as I say, I spent some time duct taping people's lives together in the tri-state area. So
Oh my
I can
gosh,
kind
no,
of
tell us. Yeah.
Okay, I can kind of do some quick and dirty upholstery, but not like legitimate, you'd want to live with it forever upholstery.
That's like the Macy's Day Parade. I'm like, oh, do you have like a needle and thread? And they're like, no, here's a stapler.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
hem the pants, like hem the dress.
Right,
Like,
yes,
yeah.
make it work. Just make it work. Exactly. Yeah. No, Surprise by Design was actually my last full-time job in Manhattan. The schedule was like 2 weeks off, 3 weeks on, 3 weeks on, 4 weeks off, and so I was coming back and forth and spending more time focusing on the store. And that's when I ultimately made the decision not to continue with, really, because I had a kind of craptastic situation with my lease. But that was really the final nail. But it
No, that'll do you in New York. Yeah.
Well, they made me do the math.
Oh gosh.
And I realized that over 5 years I had spent $90,000 and I was going to walk away with nothing.
Oh my gosh.
Going back to the original, before we even started here, our conversation about home ownership.
Yeah.
It just seemed, because we had our business and because I could still have a foot in both worlds and still express my creativity, but also do the business side of it that I do enjoy. It seemed to be the moment where it made a lot of sense. And I was in New York in the early 2000s too. When I graduated in 2000, and a year later, it was a very different place. And I think a lot of things kind of sputtered at that time. And I feel like if it had been at a different time, maybe different opportunities would have opened up. But I felt as though at the point that I made that decision, the business was something on which I could focus and build and grow, and New York was going to be a constant fight.
Right.
Looking for the next job, finding the next
Right.
opportunity.
Right.
And there's a lot of excitement in that, but I felt like I had enjoyed that, and I was ready to move on.
Yeah. For a while, like, I remember being like a preteen and coming to get my first clothes at Nada and Company, and you were there a few days a week, and you were in New York a few days a week.
Yeah.
So you were kind of like getting the best of both worlds, like,
Yes.
as I chose to do at some point in my career. But it was so exciting to like know you, that like this chick who like is spending time in NYC and then coming back and like just guiding us to a football game. It was such a great experience. So Nada and Company is on their third location, and I'm gonna jump to in your second location. We had like way too much fun. Like,
yes, we did.
We
too
had
much fun.
yeah, and so what were some of your favorite things that we did there? Like, my sister Vivi and I, for everyone listening, we were in high school and we were Katie's models. She had like handpicked some like girls from prep to come and just wear the clothes. And we could not have been more thrilled.
Yeah. We had that was truly the Camelot season at Nada and Company. It was wonderful. 5,000 square feet, almost 20-foot ceilings. It was incredible. And those windows, it breaks my heart every day. I miss them. But it was it was just truly a golden age in so many ways. I mean, we had just come off Sex and the City. People were really dressing.
Yes.
We love our kings around here, Michael Patrick and all the rest of them.
Yes.
And he'll never know obviously he's well aware of the impact of that show, but I don't think you can really understand the impact it had on business and on businesses like ours, when people were really dressing and really thinking about their accessories and how they were putting themselves together. And we were really carried through for many years on that inspiration, and it was a wonderful time. I'm very grateful to have had that experience and to have had all of you, of course you and your sisters. I always see Mary McGregor. Is that for me? The little blue strap. I think we put straps on it.
Yes, I was thinking about this pre-interview. Okay, yes. You have to tell it. Tell it.
Oh my gosh! You were all getting dresses, maybe for Easter or something.
No, it was Judy Riff's wedding. Judy Doherty's wedding. Yeah.
Okay. So you were all getting dresses, and I don't know. Was Mary like? 11?
She would have been 13.
Okay.
But maybe she couldn't fill out the dress, and you had to adjust it for her in many ways.
Yes, we took it in.
But you left room because she wore it. She wore it later on, like when she had gone through puberty. But you added grosgrain straps with bows, yellow grosgrain straps, and they were daisies on the bottom, like growing up from the hem. And it was so cute, and I remember, I had my eye on it for her, but I was like, do you think you could make this work? And, you were like, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, it was, those kinds of memories are, we love clothes. Clothes are a lot of fun. But the way they make people feel, that's the thing that's important about them. And, that she was so excited that day, and to be with the grown-up girls, getting a dress at Nada and Company. It was, I will never forget her face that day. And, there are so many experiences like that. But, that was just a wonderful time. And Mary Dorenzo Rumor and Maggie Bannon Dewin, I believe they're old married ladies with babies now. But, it was so much fun. And, when you talk about all those girls, we just had a blast. And one of you would bring a friend, and then that friend would bring another friend, and it just kept growing and growing and growing. And it was, I was always struck by how loving you all were to one another. Maybe that was in front of me, but maybe there were things going on behind the scenes.
No, they were all nice girls. It was just a nice group of girls.
Yes, and I remember being upstairs in the store downtown, and that kind of crow's nest, everybody getting ready and hearing you all chattering, and my God, you look so beautiful, and that looks great on you. The camaraderie and the support and the just joy in enjoying these clothes and having a good time with it, and being so open to it too. You were young girls for I'll put anything on. Sure, I'll go. I always remember when we had the fashion show. I think it was the one, not when we moved, but it was the one that we did the first anniversary that Now and Nada and Company had moved from Clark Summit to Scranton. That we were lucky that we were kind of close on each other's heels, and we did that amazing fashion show. And Holly Irish, who I think was a freshman in high school at the time, if not in the 8th grade, just looked at me and she said, I can't do this.
Oh, really?
What, were there 300, 400 people there? The place was
jammed
packed.
In the store.
This huge runway.
Yes.
And she was the first one out, and the music was a-coming. And she looked at me, she said, I can't do this. And I said, well, that's too bad. 5, 6, 7, 8, and pushed her, and off she went. And it was amazing. And that was, I took for granted that you were all very young women, and because you were always all professional and mature and handled everything that was thrown at you. And when I think of just kind of putting my foot on her tush and kicking her out there, and 13 or 14 years old, but she did it, and I think she's a successful career woman now. So I hope that played a part in it.
Yeah. No, that was so fantastic. And like, I don't know how, but we just all have this thing in us that we were like made to do that. Like none of us went, like I went into fashion, but like none of us went into modeling. But we were like when you told us to be models, like we became models. Like it was amazing.
You guys, you absolutely did. I mean, you were fearless. And you did what needed to be done, and you stood up straight, and you walked with the beat, and you weren't silly and scared, and you did the job. It had to happen. And
it was the early days of Julie Jordan, and she captured the whole night.
Yeah, so we have all sorts of beautiful photographs of it. We're really lucky in that regard.
So you moved to your third store. You moved. So there's 3 partners in Nada & Co. You, your father,
Actually,
and your mother.
we kicked my father out many years ago because of insurance. Yes. So it's just the 2 of us now. He's not on paper. He's not a partner on paper, but he is certainly a partner in reality. That's for sure.
He's like, what would you say? Like the plumber, the handyman, like the representative of the men's department?
Yes. I mean, he's really all of those things. My father's support of this business is the only reason it continues to thrive. I think a lot of other people would have said, this isn't realistic, this isn't, you don't go into this business to get on the Forbes list, and, it pays for itself, and that's very important, and we keep things moving forward, but the hours and hours and hours that takes, a lot of other people might have said, I don't want to do this anymore. And,
right.
My father never has. And has done everything. I mean, dear God, it could be almost before you were born. I don't even know if you know about this. We ran the restaurant next to the store in Chinchilla for a time.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. We had a hot minute as restaurateurs.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But
the restaurant business is even crazier than the clothing business.
That's even crazier. But there was a point when we really were running it by the skin of our teeth. And my father would get up in the morning, cook a turkey, do the prep for the day, get things ready for, it was soup, sandwiches. We had to continue with ice cream. That's a whole other, that's a podcast in and of itself. But he got up, did all of that, 5 o'clock in the morning, he was there doing that. He would teach a full day of school, come back, run the restaurant in the afternoon, deal with kids scooping ice cream and the ordering and all that kind of stuff. And then at about 11 o'clock, he'd get in the car, go to Mulberry Tower and have dinner with my grandmother.
Oh my gosh.
And he'd get up and do it all again.
Your father's really an amazing man. And before I knew any of that, like I thought that of him. Yes. But really like a family who does it all.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, we're just a unique group of people who all happen to really like each other and really enjoy the same stuff.
Yeah.
We have a lot in common, and I don't think we could have pursued the things we've pursued without that.
So you get to this point, you come home, you're a foot in the door in Scranton, or Clark Summit, you're a foot in the door in New York, and all of a sudden, you're packing clients' suitcases. You're remaking, like, dresses from start to finish to fit clients. Like, how was that transition? Like, you all of a sudden had this immensity of clients who were just yours. You know what I mean? Like, that was a huge responsibility.
Yeah. It's interesting because there are people who are mine and there are people who are my mother's. That is absolutely the truth. But behind the scenes, we carry the weight together.
Okay.
So, it never feels like, my mother and I, by and large, agree on everything.
Okay.
And, so even with the buying, even like our approach to things is very similar. Mm-hmm. So it isn't like there's never that moment where you're thinking, well, this part is my responsibility.
Okay.
Like, we all do it all together.
Mm-hmm.
So even times where some of the work becomes overwhelming, because what happens when the door is open is this much of
right.
what goes on at Nada & Company.
For everyone
Everything
listening
else.
who doesn't know, Nada & Company does all their own alterations.
Yeah.
And when I say alterations, alterations are a small part of it. They rework total clothing pieces to fit almost anyone. Like you there's no size exclusivity. You really try to accommodate everyone.
Yeah, we really do. We try to have lots of options, and the big thing for us is come out of the dressing room. I'm never going to make you buy something. I'm never going to make you buy something. We can turn the lights on, so we'll be fine. I want people to get things they love and enjoy, and if today's not the day, that's perfectly fine. And if it's never your day at Nada & Company, that's fine too. Go forth and say you had a nice experience. That's all I ask. But it's, it really is, it's so important that things fit and flatter people, and that, you're absolutely right, can happen at any age, at any size. I feel like if there's one limitation, it's shared style, shared taste. I can be all things to all people in some regard, but if you're using the word bling with me, this probably isn't your place. Which isn't just, obviously I like a sequin, spend a lot of time sewing them, but it isn't, those kinds of things, you think we might not be on the same page. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. And there's a lot of merchandise in the world, and there are a lot of beautiful stores in this community. Mm-hmm. I love that we all have unique tastes and unique styles, and there isn't a ton of overlap. And if you're looking for something in this style, you might go to this place. If you're looking for something in this vein, you come to me. I think it's so important that businesses in a small community can bounce off each other in that way. And, my next door neighbor, right out this window, has a clothing store in Clark Summit. Mm-hmm. We have, I could show you out the window. We have completely different tastes. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And yet I know she cares for people the way we care for people. Uh-huh. And, I enjoy her store. I've gotten some things I love there, but we have very different aesthetics, and that's what makes the world go round, and yet she comes in our store and she finds things that she likes as well. I think overall the businesses in this community are a complement to each other. I've certainly never felt that there was any competition.
Well, that's what brings me to my next point is you support everyone. I remember working in college at Nada & Co downtown, and you're like, I'm going to pop over to Pierre's. And you were like, yeah, and that's a great thing. Yeah. Which brings us to our next section of this interview. The work you do.
Where are we going? Junior League. Jennifer and I were in there together.
Absolutely, the work you do in the community. Mm-hmm. All three of you are so dedicated to the community, and the amount of time you give to just different causes. Like your father runs a historical society. You've been a president of Junior League. Your mother, I'm sure, was a president of Junior League at one point. And that's just not all. I can't even encapsulate everything. The library you have a hand in, the cultural center, for years, you all represented there. Can you tell me a little bit about that portion of your life?
We don't do much with the library, just to be on record.
Okay.
I think we've supported some events and things, but I don't think any of us have ever held an official role there. But it's one thing leads to another, and service has always been a part of our lives. But I think it's more in a way that you become responsible for things. And, when people say you want something done, ask a busy person. It's true. And I think that's how this has happened. You get involved in one organization and then somebody says, oh, I'm doing this thing over here. I could use some help. Well, that leads you here or there. And, I think we all take those responsibilities very seriously, have a lot of respect for the mission of organizations, which I think is vital. I think, not often enough is that a real focus of the work that's being done. I think it's so important to always go back to that as your driving force. And I just think because of that, we've always taken it very seriously, and I am proud that we have a reputation of following through on things that we're asked to do, and that one thing has led to another because I hope we've delivered.
Yeah, absolutely. How much of your Jesuit education led to your devotion to the community?
I struggle with that a lot.
Okay.
Because I'm around a lot of people who had a Jesuit education, and I think I came to service before that.
Okay.
I'm not sure that I realized that everybody hadn't been doing all that stuff all along. So it's that's such an interesting question, because when people will talk about it, in fact, it came up the other night at a meeting I was at, and I think, well, yeah, but I was doing this stuff since I was a child. Now, my mother went to Marywood Seminary, and certainly that was closely linked to prep at the time, because girls did not go to prep when she was there. And certainly, perhaps even more so, the Sisters of the IHM have a significant history of service in this community. So I think that was ingrained in her, in me, in all of us. And it's something that I always am. I'm almost taken aback by it, because by the time I came to Jesuit education, it was very much a part of who I was and how I conducted myself. And I didn't realize that wasn't the case for everybody.
So were you a fly on the wall of the Junior League before you were a part of it? Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you name some experiences or events? I'm dying to hear of the early days.
Yeah, I remember the Junior League of the mid-'80s, early to mid-'80s, Santa's World.
Oh, gosh.
Everybody, people will joke that the women who were volunteering would walk in and be told to ask me what they were supposed to do. I was 5. And I knew I had an answer. So, I always remember that being about work. It was, there were wonderful friendships forged, but it was through the work. And, I think over years, memberships wax and wane, and things change. And when I came into the Junior League, I really thought, as I said before, it was so important to have a strong focus on the mission and really talk about what the Junior League is, which is a training organization. And we train through service, but the service isn't the point. It's a training organization, and you're there to learn how to run a meeting, how to plan an event, how to follow policies and procedures. And I really kind of corralled it in that direction, and it because that was my experience, that everybody was there to do that work and to hold one another to account, and to live up to some really serious expectations. And yet I have wonderful memories. I mean, definitely Santa's World is the biggest one, but ice cream socials at the Trip House. I mean, the Trip House was a dilapidated shell when the Junior League saved it, and the work that went into that. I mean, I remember cleanups, and my mother always tells a story of a neighbor kind of being frustrated with the exterior of the building. There were a lot of regulations and a lot of work happening on the inside of the building, preserving paint and all very tedious and meticulous work being done. And the outside had been overlooked. And I don't remember if my mother was chairman of Trip House or president of the league at the time, but the three Gilmartins and the three Whites, Shelley White and her daughter and her husband, her daughter, her husband, father, got in the car, and we went and cleaned up the yard. And so I think those experiences of really pulling together and getting the job done, that those are my memories of that's the thing that has the impact on me.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. That's an amazing story, and I hadn't heard that before. So that brings us to, you were trained by the Junior League to run a meeting, to be incredibly focused and single-minded, at times. And I was so proud to know you when Hillary Clinton lost the 2016 election and women were called to run for office, and you were the first person I knew, the first woman I knew to say, I'm running. And that was just a great time, that I remember.
Yeah,
and it was women supporting women, truly. Not to cut you off, but just the outpouring I remember on Facebook. It was the good you had done was being repaid by all these people who had seen you through the years, not take any accolades. And all of a sudden, it was your turn to be in the spotlight and go to work for the school system. But I'll let you talk now.
The 2017 election was truly one of the greatest pleasures of my life. It was a joy, and there was so much optimism. There was so much support. I really felt like there was momentum to make real change. Mm-hmm. And it was the perfect storm. I was talking about this the other day. I worked really hard. I won't say I didn't do that. I worked really, really hard. We knocked on a lot of doors. We made a lot of phone calls. I wrote notes till I was blue in the face. It was really the best advice I got throughout the entire campaign. Write a note to everyone you interact with. And I
love the lost art of writing a note.
Yep.
I take time out of every month just to write, just to thank people. Yeah.
It's a really important thing to do. And I feel like it also grounded me in that experience. I remember a lot more of what went on in 2017 because of those lists. And I mean, truly, $10 donation, somebody came to an event, somebody knocked on a door. I mean, everybody got a note for everything. I hope. If I miss someone, I apologize. I really did try.
Let us know. Katie will write you a note now.
Yes. I still have plenty of stationery, so I can get it in the mail, no problem. But it was a wonderful experience, and that it was such a challenging time for our country. It was such a challenging time for our city, for our school district, and the right people just fell into place, and I think made a lot of positive impacts and got things in a strong position to, I hope, continue making good choices and expanding opportunities for students and strengthening this community, because a good public school district is the linchpin.
Yes. No, you're incredibly hardworking, and you are the right woman for the job. and like you said, the right people fell into place. Those are relationships you'll have, like, correct me if I'm wrong, for the rest of your life. Like you've said, their children are your children, and
the people that this brought into my life, I probably wouldn't have known. You know, I might have crossed paths with Sarah Cruz and in some other ways, and you know, there are my Catherine is just down the street on Capaus Avenue at National Bakery, but you know, I certainly hope they would have come into my life, but I never would have known Tariani. You know, Dr. Finan, so many people who were just integral to the work that got done, and that is a very short list, you know. And I mean, Missy McTiernan was somebody she was older than me at that. You know, so she was someone I knew more of because of her significant accomplishments, but you know, somebody I really enjoyed working alongside, and it was a really, really hard experience, but we were all rowing in the same direction, and that was a blessing.
If you don't mind me asking, what was like the best and the worst parts of that job?
The best is always the kids. Always. You know, getting to be with students and see their accomplishments. And I remember one day there was a program at McNichols Plaza for Earth Day, and Dr. Kirian who was another dear friend, she couldn't get there that day, and I went in her place representing the district. And I will never forget the kids singing this song. I love the planet.
Oh!
I love the planet. It was a song about water preservation and all sorts of stuff. And I mean, I will never get those little faces out of my mind. And, you know, they were so joyful and so excited. And there were all sorts of people there. I think John Blake might have been there too, if I remember correctly. But that and I had the opportunity to serve on the Joint Operating Committee for the Career Technology Center, and you know that the kids overall, but CTC specifically was a wonderful experience. There was some really good. I was the only woman on the board, and at that time there is now a woman in the director position. She was I think she was principal was her title at the time, but you know, really good people who came to the table for the sake of education and for expanding that program and making connections in the community and industry, and that was a wonderful experience. And you know, the worst part of the hurts, of course. Of course, you know, it's not people not seeing all sides of an issue, people really getting angry, getting nasty. That was hard. You know,
but I feel like people's true colors came out, and
sadly.
I mean, yeah. But I truly thank you for your service, and it was just such a great thing to like be able to say that I knew you.
Well, I feel the same way about you.
Thank you. So you have like truly an intensity, which is like can be a blessing and a curse. How do you come down from that? You're like
there are a lot of people who feel that way about me.
No, but I mean it in a good way. Like you bring an intensity to everything you do, and you see it through, as we talked about before. But how do you come down from that? For anyone who doesn't know, Not and Company is located down the block from Katie's beautiful home on Capaus Ave, and like even just being that close to your work, I think can be stressful. You know, you don't have like a ride home to kind of think everything over. So I just honestly, when I was thinking about my questions today, I really thought, you know, for someone who's so intense and delivers, how do you come down from it? Because I struggle. I know I struggle with that. Like in this season of my life, I truly struggle with like just coming down from that high sometimes.
Yeah. It is hard, and it's interesting. I do miss commuting.
Okay.
Like that. I love being able to walk to the store, and for a business that takes so many hours out of a day, it's certainly great. When I had a powder room, not even put in, it kind of existed. And it almost ruined my life.
I remember parts of the story.
Again, coming with the intensity, obviously I had to have a 10-inch sink from Morocco.
Yeah, I remember the Moroccan sink.
Yeah. So I mean, it was. Yeah, I'm not saying I didn't bring this on myself, and I luckily had people who were working with me and helping all these pieces come together. But I spent, I think, 7 months at my parents' house because of that, and also because the dinners were good. Let's be very honest. It wasn't. I can't totally blame it on the powder room.
Chef Michael.
Yeah, exactly. But we calculated, and it was 15 days worth of travel time.
Get out.
They live in North Abington Township. They don't live in New Jersey.
Right.
So, I mean, just 20 minutes up and back every day, I think wound up to be 15, 8-hour days. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So to not lose that time is very valuable, but you're right. It's always there. You're always, I mean, even these last 2 days, you think, should I walk down? Should I do the,
right.
There's plenty I can do. I'm trying to load things on the website, which is my constant condition, always trying to get things on the website. But, so I'm certainly making good use of the time, but it's hard to turn it off. Mm-hmm. And, I think a lot of times when you have a business that is so much about you personally, there is very little divide. Mm-hmm. But I have cats.
Yes,
and
yes.
They're wonderful. I can't believe none of them have turned up. I think they're
I was fully expecting them to pop on the screen.
Yes, I can't believe there's been no tail here. But they're, I think, very out of sorts. When am I ever in the house for 48 straight hours? They're like, this is not the routine. I don't know. But, they're wonderful. And there's, no matter what kind of day you've had, seeing those little faces pop up at the front door as soon as the car pulls in the driveway, or they hear my, if I walk that day, they hear my feet on the concrete and they know. And one after another, those little faces, and they don't know they don't know the tragedy that is going on in our world. Mm-hmm. They don't know the hard things that just happen in the normal course of business. They don't know. Mm-hmm. And they're just happy I'm showing up again, and I'm going to open the food, and we're going to have a good snuggle, and nothing's getting them down.
The love of an animal or a child is truly, there's nothing like it.
Yep, nothing.
Yeah.
And I don't have to pay to send them to college or technical school or whatever they want to pursue. I don't know. I just have to pay the vet bills and the hefty food bill.
So how many cats do you have right now?
I have 4.
Okay.
I only went looking for 2.
But you're a rescuer. You've taken cats in, mm-hmm. which is an amazing quality about you, and no one should be surprised because of all the work you do for others.
No, they really, I firmly believe that my Josephine, who was with me from the time Josephine. Yeah. I know we all are Josephine. She definitely sent me Arlene. And we went about a month after Josephine died, and she died here in the house in my arms, beautifully. But we went to Griffin Pond, and Arlene she was not Arlene at the time, but she reached
that's a
up
great name. That's a I love Arlene.
She named herself. I will make this a quick story, But we had a friend, Arlene O'Hara, who was involved at the Historical Society and lived over on Sanderson Avenue. And Arlene was an incredible woman, so stylish and wonderful and brilliant, and she was just a great lady. She had passed away, and another friend had gone to the sale at her home, Vivian Kelly, and purchased on my behalf a painting that she had. It was beautiful pastels. It was up on the wall in the room right over here. And I was having a hard time naming Arlene because she's a very serious cat. She had a cage mate she brought along with her. She turned into Lola very quickly. She was Lola. Long hair,
Love it.
tuxedo cat. She was just a coquette from the jump. And I was having a hard time naming Arlene. So she was up on the table, down on the floor, up on the table, blah, blah, blah. And I said, "What is your name?" She walked across the table and put her 2 paws up on the painting.
Oh my gosh.
I said, "Okay, you're Arlene." And that is who she was and who she's been. She is one of the strongest forces in my life. She's truly my partner. It's like people will say, "Well, what's the difference between the two of them?" Josephine belonged to me. I belong to Arlene.
Oh.
Yep. Yeah.
That's so sweet.
She's a good lady, and she keeps things in order around here, and everybody else kind of turned up one after another, but my parents also, by mistake, have 4 cats. They all just turned up. So that brief time that I was at their house, there were 8 cats in the house.
Oh gosh.
That you talk about intensity. That most certainly was, but we survived it. But right before that time, 3 kittens were born under their front porch. So one of them came with the city kitties, and she's with us, Penelope, and the 2 gray stripers lived with them and their 2 other cats. So.
Oh.
Yeah, they're
that's
sweet.
so sweet.
And they all do manage to get along. There are 2 tortoiseshells in the mix who sometimes don't enjoy each other's company, or anyone else's for that matter, but they're good.
That's amazing. To wrap up, we'll just pivot a little with some easy questions. I never asked you your Starbucks order. You're not really a Starbucks gal.
I'm not really a Starbucks gal.
But I ask everyone, so I just figured I'd throw it to you.
Well, I'll go back to my Catherine Fox.
Okay.
She, over the summer, maybe last year, was bringing me some delicious thing that was... I don't know, it was like a green tea refresher or something.
Oh, that sounds delightful.
And she's an excellent orderer, and she knows all of those places and all of those things, so definitely ask her sometime.
Yeah.
She would have a better answer. But I then tried to order myself one and came up with something that was pink and blue and had boba in the bottom of it. So it had nothing to do with the things she brought me, which was so refreshing and delicious. And I got some sort of neon confection, but so I'm not good at that.
All right. Well, how you do drink coffee? How do you make your coffee?
I actually have a wonderful pour-over coffee maker here that I've recently acquired, mainly because it's green. That's really the thing that tipped me over to the pour-over coffee machine, and matches the kitchen beautifully. So just a little bit of milk. That's about it.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Rom-com or thriller?
Rom-com.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I saw.
Although the friend I was talking to last night has just filmed a horror movie.
Oh, really?
So, yes. I don't know anything about it. I don't know the name of it. It just happened last week. So I have a feeling he actually said to me in the course of the conversation, "I hope you'll see it." I guess I'll have to do that. Through my fingers.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite movie?
Dirty Dancing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Love it.
And I close second Amadeus.
Okay. Yeah.
But definitely Dirty Dancing.
And then last question, where's your favorite place to dance?
To dance?
The 12 Penny, a friend's wedding?
12 Penny's a good answer. I haven't danced enough recently.
Really?
I don't know that yeah. I mean, the Met Gala, that was pretty good.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
You were at the Met Gala?
Long time ago.
When it was the
still
Met
in
Ball?
December. Yes. Yeah, it's funny. It's come up like 2 or 3 times this week. Yeah. Had a...
I can't believe I didn't know that about you.
Yeah. I had a friend who worked there, and at that time, people who had some affiliation could buy a $100 ticket to the after party.
Oh,
and
wow.
so for a couple of years in a row, we were able to go. And the first year, Brandy and Monica were performing.
Oh my gosh!
I mean,
oh yeah, I know.
Really along. Yeah.
No, I know Brandy.
That song, "The Boy Is Mine."
Yeah.
And there were 2. They performed in the lobby at the Met. There were 2 boxing rings set up on either side, and each of them was in one, singing the song back and forth.
Oh
so,
my god!
There had been the dinner upstairs in a gallery, and then all the celebrities came down through the crowd. Many of them left. Some of them stayed. One of them was Alan Cumming in a silver lame tuxedo, who spent a good portion of the evening dancing with my friends and me. And
oh my gosh!
He and I have a very, very dear friend in common, and he's popped up a couple of times in my life, and I have had the opportunity to share that story with our friend, and it's just funny. Alan's a good guy.
Well, you're gonna have to tell us. Can you give us a shortened version of the story of Alan Cumming? He's having a great season of Traders right now.
Yes, and that's how this came up the other night. A friend was saying that was a show she was watching, which I've not gotten to see. But he has. We've wound up at a few. He was in a show with my friend Lucas many years ago. They've maintained a friendship. And when Lucas was in Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1912, which he was ultimately nominated for a Tony Award, Alan happened to be there the night I had seen the show a few times, but he happened to be there the night that my parents and I attended. And we were standing outside, got the chance just to say hello. And then as often happens with Lucas and me, we do not see each other regularly enough. Goes a long time in between, and we had one of our marathon lunches, and I realized I didn't know this, but had never told him the story about the Met Gala. I don't know, it just had never come up. And we had been at lunch for hours and hours and hours. We
love a marathon lunch.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
You got to do it sometimes.
Yes. It was. I mean, that's how we roll. Like, you don't speak to each other for 18 months, sometimes 3 years, and then it just all happens over the course of one night or one lunch. It was wonderful. But we were walking down 8th Avenue, and walk right smack dab into Alan Cumming.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, they know each other very, very well. Mm-hmm. So they were talking about projects that they were doing, things that they knew about in each other's lives. And I mean, oh, hello, yes, you remember my friend Katie. Oh, yes, hi, how are you? That was the exchange. Well, when we walked away, that somehow, however we were talking about what they had been discussing, I realized I had never shared this story. And he said, does he know that story? I said, I don't think so. He said, why didn't you tell me to shut up? I'm blabbering on about nonsense. Why didn't you tell me? So hopefully I'll get the chance someday.
Yeah. No, you're an amazing dancer, and it's always a treat to be at a wedding or an event with you. And yeah, it's just such a pleasure to know you.
Back at you, Meg.
Thanks. This has been such a treat. Everyone, this is Maggie McGregor with Katie Gilmartin on the Meeting Maggie podcast.